Very well. Please give your name and address for the minutes. And I would ask that you limit your comments to about 3 minutes if you can, so we make sure we get everybody in. And then we can always come back if there's something that you'd like to address later.
It'll be very short. I know after Milo's presentation, there's going to be justification probably by this council or mayor for what he's going to do, and that's only maybe or maybe not. My main concern is the residents of this community do not want any more apartments. It's as simple as that, and that's all I've got to say.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor? Kevin
Please.
Roberts, 8315 Greenwood Drive. I don't want to sound like I'm disagreeing with your decision on the order you're taking this, but believe it or not, there might still be some people out there that haven't heard Mr. Pinkerton's presentation yet. And if you remember, we had a few reversals on decisions of the Planning Commission because of the information that came out after the fact. And your Resolution 5111, Resolution 5112, I'm not sure that anybody knows anything about those. In my opinion, take it for what it's worth, you might want to go ahead and let the developer make his presentation, and then whoever's going to talk about 5111, 5112, and then maybe some people have something to talk about. It's only a suggestion, just take it for what it's worth. Thanks.
Cam, the city charter is very clear in that the council cannot, and I might add this. David?
David Janke, 428 Eastwood Road. I do want to correct one comment that the lawyer made there, working with the residents. I cannot agree with that. And if it was true,
What are you speaking of, David? Which comment?
the comment made by the lawyer was that Milo Pinkerton worked with all the residents of the community. I
Okay.
can't agree with that, because if he did, there wouldn't be this kind of outpouring for any more rental property.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other comments? Any other comments from the floor? Mr. Obert?
Thank you, sir. As I asked earlier, could you or somebody from staff or somebody please read these resolutions 5111, 5112, because I personally don't think anybody knows anything about it yet. If they're going to be packaged together in 11A,
Yeah.
I think maybe we should hear about it.
Cam, we're going to deal with those directly as a separate, I think separate from the, there's several things that we need to deal with, and there certainly will be an opportunity. Is there any other general questions regarding the project as you have heard it this evening? Any other general comments? Yes, ma'am, please.
Hi there, my name is Wendy Janke, I'm 8408 Eastwood, and I have a question. Aside from the $200,000 for the refurbishing of the apartments, is there any other government money going to build the townhomes?
Mr. Pinkerton?
I have loans and grants that would help to provide the housing, yes.
And you would get those because the subsidized housing?
We get them because we're providing affordable housing and renovating the buildings and building 10 townhomes that are at the requirements that they have.
Okay, I'm just curious that, it sounds like a wonderful package, and why wouldn't it fly privately?
It would not fly privately because we are also required to keep the rents at an affordable rent level. So that's why it would work.
Another concern I have is this is obviously geared towards families with children, and I have 4 children myself. One of my kids' favorite things to do is ride their bike. Are kids going to be able to ride their bike around here, or, I saw pictures when this first started of the playground area, and I think I have more equipment in my backyard for daycare. And this is going to be for a lot of kids.
I'm sorry, I really did pass over some things we've done earlier, and I think that's a very good question. And I'll answer it for you.
Would you deal with the estimates on the childhood population? It was 30 at one time. Has this changed?
Well, it would be less now because instead of 16 townhomes, there's only 10. But I think you said you might have more equipment in your backyard.
Well,
I don't know
just
your
from the
backyard.
pictures- Okay, just
I
from the pictures I
understand.
saw from the
I
when this
understand.
first
And so what we
started.
did is we hired a landscape structure company, EFA, that specializes in building equipment for daycare centers No, these are the same.
I
And
apologize.
The commitment we're making is a $35,000 commitment to a quite extensive two-play lot area. We've got a play lot for tots that is going to be over next to the existing buildings, and it's a seating area so that it has supervision. And then we're building a slide, a walkway, a swing set. Pictures, the individual pictures are here. Phase 1 and Phase 2, we're doing all phases at the same time. Just the rendering of what one of those three pieces might look like, plus we have the bar and the swings, and here's another picture. So we are designing this for children, and I don't know what you have in your backyard, but
Well, some of the people here know what I do have in my backyard. It might even be more than that, which, I mean, I have, up to 12 kids in my backyard, and it's full.
Sure.
It's all being used,
right.
and I just can't see these being adequate for a lot of children. And like I asked you, where are they gonna ride their bikes?
Now, this is even more than the daycare center has. It's just a block down the street, and a more expensive investment. So we have got that more than covered. And we
Where are
also
they
have a
gonna ride their
supervision.
bikes?
I guess they'd ride them any place else that any child would in a rental.
Through a parking lot, though. I mean, okay, I'll drop this, but I'm kind of concerned about that. And then one more point, I'd like to see Mr. Staley's question addressed on your personal opinions on it. He came up and said he hasn't heard from some council members on their opinion. And
I think I would answer that this way. Because of my position as mayor and representative of the city, I'm perhaps drawn into more dialogue. And I had no problem meeting with the residents. But I think that what I have seen with this council in the main is that they don't ordinarily make statements prior to a complete review of all the facts, especially if we have a feeling, and I have a distinct feeling, that tonight is a little addition for me. I met with a handful of people one evening, and that's the last I was invited. I've talked to folks across the city, receiving mixed reviews. But I think it's important for us to very carefully consider everything before we take a position or make or verbalize any kind of a finalization. A petition or an initiative petition in the works. Is that correct, David? Okay. So that hasn't come before the council yet.
Can I
Yes, please.
Okay. As you know, we talked to Chuck and the city attorney, I think, talked to Mary on this here. And what we're still not clear on, we did start it, but we didn't get evidently a clear understanding that we had to include an ordinance in that petition. We followed with two petitions, one dealing with the charter, which evidently the charter doesn't coincide with the state. Is that correct?
Wait, what you talking about again?
A portion of the charter doesn't seem to coincide with the state law.
The initiative and referendum rights of the charter as it relates to resolutions has never been tried. However, in Moundsview.
Okay.
However, there are several case laws and court decisions that has ruled that resolutions are not subject to initiative and referendum under the Constitution because of their administrative nature. Would that hold up in a case in Moundsview? I don't know. We haven't ever faced that.
And we intend to proceed with a clear understanding after tonight's meeting, which we will try to get some answers on both agendas. We did have two that we drew up legally. One for asking a rezoning to stop the apartments. We've got a better, clear understanding of the funds for the Red Oaks, which helps us a little bit. And maybe we have to go back, and maybe Mary can comment on this better than I can. Or,
Well, perhaps I can, Mary's shrugging her shoulders too, perhaps I can help. I think what you're talking about is an initiative to change the zoning. And you are proposing to change the zoning to what specific other zoning?
well, to
B1,
stop-
B2,
to
B3?
stop- Right, to stop the apartments, department part of it, we have to get 15% of the voters at the last election, and we would ask for it to be zoned commercial, and would that stop the apartments? I think that question was asked. I mean, would that
Okay,
stop
okay.
the other kind of development?
And David, I'll quickly answer your question so as not to appear evasive, but I think what we need is a session to talk about this.
Okay, that's,
I'm a little disappointed that you haven't called me in the last few weeks because, you know, I'm very busy and I'm trying to keep up with all this stuff and only by your input can I do so. But what I'm trying to say is if you are contemplating an initiative for a zoning other than R3 and you wish to go to, as you say, a commercial type zoning, a B1, B2, B3 or whatever, what you're really talking about is something that impacts the comprehensive plan as we know it today and several other issues, okay? So I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. You certainly have a right under our charter to do that.
yeah.
But I think you need some help in process.
Okay, and that's fine. That's why we did see. One of the things is, it isn't that I did try to contact you because there's 5 names that have to be on there. Some of them names did try to contact you, but they did not get an answer, so. But that's no here or there. We will have that meeting, or, you know, we will have that consultation. And
I have-
whatever we have to do.
David, I have 2 ways that you can get a hold of me by phone. I have a recorder on my home phone. I have the voicemail at City Hall, 717-4003. I have not received one inquiry on either of those recorders. Not one.
Okay, evidently maybe he didn't do the inquiry, he called you to talk to you and only gave his name, and maybe that's the question. But
Nothing.
that's here and there.
I have returned every call that shows up on my recorders.
Okay, and I haven't talked to him
Okay.
this afternoon, and he hadn't received a call yet. But like I said, we will go forward, you know, with, and you're requesting some kind of a session to what we can do and what we can't do.
What I'm suggesting, David, when we wrote the city charter, chapter 5 was my assignment, so I can help you. I think what we need at this point is my concern that there not be later charges of a forsaking or a neglect of due process. Under our charter, the city residents do have the opportunity to petition things to the voters under initiative. In this case, you're talking about an ordinance to change the current zoning. I don't know what all of that means in terms of the city at large. We haven't had the opportunity to engage everybody in Mounds View. Unfortunately, our comprehensive plan has been neglected. The history in the comprehensive plan, we contracted with David Licht, a planner, in 1979. We adopted the comprehensive plan in 1980. I left the council in 1984, and that's the last that it was touched. Now, it should have been updated every 5 years, but that didn't happen. There's staff issues, there's cost issues, there's all sorts of things that come into play here. So with this old comp plan, we need to understand from the residents whether or not they will accept this. I'm going to be very curious in knowing whether or not the people who are right next to this particular parcel of property wouldn't be interested in bringing a diminution of value suit against this city if we were to put an active commercial type of development right next to them. No transitional zoning, no separation via street, right next to their yards. That's a concern on the behalf of the greater community that we need to address. So as these things, now I'm not saying that you can't go forward with your petition. That's your right. You can do that. But I think what we need is a little breathing room right now, so we don't end up having this thing decided by a court of law. So with those thoughts in mind, I'm going to make a motion that we postpone action on Resolution 5154 for 2 weeks. Okay, is there discussion on the motion?
I would like to see that we table it until we resolve these issues, because there's a lot of other issues than the ones that have just been raised this evening. We can always bring it back within the time frame.
Well, my concern is that we not get so close to the end here that we end up without anything. We've already lost a lot of negotiating power that we had going in on the original project, and I don't wish to see the residents in this council weakened any further. I think what we need to do is make certain that we don't get past that time frame. I don't know what's going to come out of a quick meeting within the next week, but I want to be prepared in time-wise. So that's why I don't wish to stretch it out any further. We may need that time for a real reason later on. We don't know.
For the same factor, the reason I would like to stretch it out is that many of the residents, as you're fully aware, have been talking about this whole development, and what they are asking is some options to perhaps to pursue some other things. Perhaps, and to tie this to a 2-week time frame, I think is very rather restrictive. The dates that we're concerned about are October 24th for the 60-day and 120-day, and I prefer to table this and look at it as our other options present themselves and try to maintain the state so we stay within the existing time frame.
Any other comments, questions from council?
You will have a second, so I'll second that.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have a second from Councilmember Quick. That's to postpone until the next regular council meeting, whatever that date is. Chuck, do you have it at hand?
Next city council meeting is September 22nd.
Okay, September 22nd. Is there further discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No?
Motion carries 3-1. In the meantime, I will make myself available to the residents at any time here at City Hall to discuss these things. David, if you could give us a list, it would be helpful, and we can give it to staff so we make certain that I know that you've been a leader in the group that has been opposed to this project. Give us a list of your concerns, 1, 2, 3, so we can go through them and get down to the real nitty-gritty of these things so we all understand. As you have seen tonight, there's been a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of misperceptions about the project, and we need to go back and start at step 1 again. I didn't mean to in any way suggest that you have fallen away from what you have set up for yourself, but in all honesty, I have, since the meeting that I met with the residents way back 3-4 weeks ago or whatever it was, I haven't had one single phone call on this subject. I have talked to people, I've gone out and sought opinions and so forth, but I think we need to reconnect that communication link. We are not adversaries. I think that would be a grand error to conclude or in any way think that this city council and the residents are adversaries. We are not adversaries with the developer. We are trying to work together and get something that's lasting and of quality for the city. I really mean that sincerely.
And I apologize if that's the case, and I don't want to discuss, and I'll talk to you at another time of how we tried to make contact. I did make contact through Chuck, and I apologize if I didn't personally call you, because each time I have called in the past, you have responded. There are some other things that happened that we didn't get very good responses, but that's here nor there. So I apologize for doing that. I did talk to Chuck, told him to give you different messages, but maybe that isn't, and I agree that isn't the right way to do it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your input. Item number 11B, consideration of City Hall heating, ventilation, and air conditioning RFP.
We're going to have Mike Ulrich come up and present this. Bob Long and I would like to talk to Mr. Janke before he gets away so we can set up something